Hey, what's going on? Luke here, and with all the discussion about the new Rugby League video game, whether it's Rugby League Live 5, Rugby League 25, Rugby League 26, no matter what the game's going to be called, there's obviously going to be a cover athlete. Or is there? Because judging by Rugby 25, that doesn't necessarily have to be a cover athlete, but it does pose a fun little question, a little discussion, a little debate on if there was going to be a cover athlete, who should it be? If you go look at the past Rugby League games, there's definitely a cover star, but on Rugby 25, you're seeing on the screen right now, they didn't have a cover athlete. They just had a little bit of an outline, like a shadowed guy. It literally could be anyone, but I do think for the Rugby League game, there is going to be a cover athlete. We've seen every other sports game, essentially NBA, FIFA, AFC, whatever you want to call it, Madden, all those ones, they always have a cover athlete, and there's always like cover athlete curses and all that sort of stuff. But we look back at the Rugby League games, previous ones, Steve Price, Braith Anasta, Jonathan Thurston, Sean Johnson, Rosh Tuivasa-Sheck. I think Cameron Smith was one of them as well. There's been plenty of cover athletes out there. They're not necessarily the best player in the game. They're not necessarily the most high profile, but I think for Rugby League 25 or 26, whatever they're going to call it, for them to come back into the market after, 7-8 years, I think they need to come in with a bang. And personally, I think they need to nail the cover athlete. So that does beg the question, who should be the cover athlete? Should it be Nathan Cleary? I mean, he's won 4 comps in a row. I mean, 5 grand finals, 4 comps. He's the Australian halfback, New South Wales halfback. Just won an Origin series, although, albeit Mitchell Moses really did it. But he's probably one of the most high-profile players in the game, as well as being the best player, despite him never winning a Dally M, which is just absolutely crazy. That just reflects in the award. But I think you can argue that Nathan Cleary is the best player, and I don't even think it's much of an argument, as more of it is a fact. He's so good. He's won everything, and he's done it multiple times. He does it over and over again. And I think in terms of the Panthers squad, when you think of the Panthers, you think of Nathan Cleary, and I think when you think of the NRL these days, you tend to think of Nathan Cleary. So with that in mind, I think he's kind of the obvious one, but there are plenty of other options out there as well. And I do want to toss out the fact that I do think there will be a male cover athlete, and I think there will be a female one, and I think we'll see one of each. I know the AFL game has, I think, 3 people in the cover, so they are open to having multiple people in the cover. So I do think we're going to see an NRLW player, and we're going to get an NRL player as well. So I'll cover the women's ones as well, but to start off, Nathan Cleary, I think he's the obvious one. Secondly, I think a guy like Reece Walsh or even Kalen Ponga, either one of them two, I think they're your second pick. I think if you're not going to go with Nathan Cleary, if you can't figure out something, you look to a guy like Kalen Ponga, you look to a guy like Reece Walsh. Now, this might be a little controversial, but I personally, if I was picking a cover athlete, I would probably go with a Kalen Ponga. I think you hit it strong right now because you never know what's going to happen with Kalen Ponga in a couple of years. There's always the talk of him going to rugby union or whatever. So Nathan Cleary, I don't think he's going to leave. I think he's going to be in the NRL for a long time. Reece Walsh, I think the same. I think he's struck by the iron's hot, and I think you go with a guy like Kalen Ponga, you get him in. He's very marketable. Everybody knows Kalen Ponga. The girls love him. The guys love watching him. He's a fantastic player. Probably at the peak of his power at the moment as well in terms of popularity. He's won a Dally M. He's kind of done everything except for win a premiership, but that's just him playing with the Knights. Even down to all the talk at the Knights with him and Dylan Brown. So he's definitely in the media a lot. The guy is an absolute superstar. He's an absolute freak in the field. And I think he's a marketer's dream. And I have him a little bit over Reece Walsh because Reece Walsh is great. But Kalen Ponga, for example, is a guy that if you're a neutral, you like Kalen Ponga. You like watching him. There's not really much to not like about Kalen Ponga. Where Reece Walsh, they either love him or hate him. He's very polarizing. The girls love him, but like how many of them are going to be buying the video game? But in terms of him, popularity-wise, Reece Walsh is right up there. They are trying to make him the face of the game. However, I think his performance isn't actually living up to the hype. So that's why I think you go with a guy like Kalen Ponga, or obviously Nathan Cleary. I think they're your 2 top choices, and then Reece Walsh in at third, because Reece Walsh is super popular, but I don't think he's quite got the ability. But then again, it's only a cover athlete. It doesn't really matter too much about your actual on-field ability. It's just a matter of, hey, is this going to sell some games? And I think Reece Walsh will definitely do it. But I think Kalen Ponga is just on another level to Reece Walsh in terms of popularity. And then I think Nathan Cleary, everyone knows him. He's a clear, obvious one. Other options I have is a guy like Cameron Munster. I think he's generally liked. And also, it's shown in the past that they're not necessarily going for the absolute premier player. Although Munster, obviously, he's won it all. He's won Origins, won premierships. You can argue that he's the best 5'8" in the game. However, I wouldn't say he's the most high profile. However, in the past, like a guy like Steve Price was on the cover, Braithen Astor. They weren't exactly the best player in the comp. I mean, Andrew Johns was never on a cover. Essentially just proves the point that they're not necessarily going to go for the biggest and best player. But yeah, I think Cameron Munster, he could be a good one because he's got a lot of personality. And I think between him, Pappenhausen, and Jerome Hughes, even them as a trio could be quite cool for a cover. But I think Cameron Munster definitely up there as well. And then finally, I think a guy like Jerome Luai would be absolutely perfect because he kind of touches every single base. I mean, obviously success, he has that. State of origin, he has that. He plays for Samoa. He's moved to a new club in the Tigers, which everyone's wanting to see succeed. And obviously Jerome Luai, in my opinion, has kind of gone to the next level in terms of popularity. He's no longer just Nathan Cleary's second fiddle. And I do think that works well in terms of a cover athlete because Nathan Cleary negotiating with him and all that sort of stuff, maybe it's not going to go smoothly, but maybe you can get a guy like Jerome Luai. Even when you look to like NBA, for example, it's not like LeBron James is on the cover every year or Jokic or anyone like that. So I could definitely see a world where Jerome Luai is on the front cover of Rugby League 25. I can definitely see it. Now, I've talked about the guys. Now it's time to talk about the girls because I did talk about the fact that I do think there's going to be male and female on the cover. And I think the NRLW would be a great inclusion into the new game. The women's game was in the previous one through the World Cup edition. I don't see why it wouldn't be in the current one, especially in 2025, how the world's going, with how video games going. All of the big sports games, they all seem to have the women's game in it as well. So I think Rugby League 25, I think it'd be taking a backward step if they don't have the women's game in it. And also, I think they should have them on the cover, which poses the question, what players should we have as the women's part of it? I mean, there's plenty of options. There's plenty of great players. I think, firstly, I think of a player like Tamika Upton. I think she's definitely got a high ceiling in terms of popularity. I think in terms of her play style, she's one of the best to watch. I think in terms of name value, she's one of the better ones in the NRLW. I think you look at other ones like your Jess Surges, I think Isabel Kelly as well. They're the other two from the Roosters, if not both of them. I think they're your two ones who've been around for a long time. If you want to include someone who's, like, they were literally in Rugby League Live 4, I think you can definitely include some of them. If you're going for some of the new ones, Tegan Berry is another one who's, I think, is quite marketable and would be good for the cover. Then you have a player like Jamie Chapman, plays in New South Wales, but also her club team is in Queensland, covers both bases there. Dates the Hammer. So in some ways, I guess she's a lot more popular because of that sort of stuff as well. So that's another good option. Also an absolute weapon on the field. You could even also go like Amelia Elliott, although she's pregnant, not going to be playing this year. But Amelia Elliott she's been around for a long time. She's on Channel 9, does a lot of media sort of stuff. Is very well known to the general public. So I think she is another one as well. But guys, let me know in the comment section below. What are your thoughts of the cover? Who do you think is going to be on the cover? Even what do you think the game's going to be called? Just if you have any sort of comments on Rugby League 25, feel free to do it in the comment section below. We can have a little bit of a discussion, but that's where I'm going to wrap things up here. Thanks for watching, guys, and I'll see you in the next one. See yous. Well, that's the end of this video. If you happen to enjoy it, make sure you leave a like, subscribe. You know the drill at this point. Everybody YouTuber says it. Just go ahead and do it. It'd really help me out. Also, why not go ahead and check out some of these other videos that are on the screen right now.